Welcome to Heart Space Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Anna.
And I'm Candice. This is a podcast dedicated to all things heart-centered. In each episode, we will open our heart space to share embodied experiences, simple tips, and thoughtful prompts for you to live a heart-centered life.
If you are curious about the wisdom of our hearts, if you are ready to embrace deep transformation, this podcast is for you.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any episodes.
From our hearts to yours, Anna and Candice.
Welcome back to Heart Space Podcast. We are back with a second season of Heart Space Podcast, bringing you more insights on how to live a heart-centered life. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a regular listener, we missed you and we are happy you are here with us today.
Whether you're listening to this podcast on the commute or while running an errand or driving or wherever you are, we hope that our voices will keep you company today and the stories we share will nourish your heart. For our new listeners, a quick 30 seconds intro about us. We highly suggest also listening to episode 0 of season 1, where we shared a little bit more. But for today, we are Anna and Candice, two yoga and Ayurveda practitioners, students, and educators living in Singapore. Heart Space Podcast is our channel where we speak about various aspects of heart-centered living.
Yeah, and in season 1, we focused a lot about the self. We talked about using your intuition, identifying the false ego and how to release it, the art of divine play, in other words, not taking yourself too seriously, and most importantly, cultivating self-love. So, by the way, if you haven't heard any of those, good time for you to go back and listen to season 1 first. So you could also consider season 1 as the foundation for us, this fertile ground for us to plant some heart-centered seeds. And with the clarity of the self, we then can interact and play in this world without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling anxious, confused, or resentful. In season 2, we are expanding on the topic of self a little bit wider and further by borrowing the voices and inspiration of individuals who are living their version of heart-centered life. And we are inviting guests in this season. We'll speak a little bit more about that later, but right now, we're really looking forward to sharing all of that with you.
So before we speak more about season 2, we would like to share with you an in-person offering that is coming up in November. We are very excited to be running a 3-part group practice to introduce the art of observing our minds, which is meditation. This group practice is named Meditation for Beginners, and it will be facilitated at Magalaya Shala over here in Singapore, which is an intimate boutique yoga shala, shala meaning home or abode, a space for holistic practices. And we believe that meditation or seated contemplation should be a consistent and sincere practice of observing our thoughts without judgment. The fruits of the effort accumulate over a period of time. It's a consistent practice, which offers us the ability to witness the chaos of the mind, the ego self, and not be a part of it. So during this group practice, we will share the purpose and technique of meditation with each series, focusing on one yogic philosophy.
Yeah, and this series is for not just beginners, basically anyone who is open to learning or relearning the why and how of meditation, or even if you have struggled with attempt to meditate before, and now you are looking for a space or facilitators to guide you properly and feel supported throughout this journey, or maybe you are feeling like you need to seriously commit to prioritizing your mental clarity and inner peace. If you are one of those people, this meditation group practice would be for you. To find out more, visit the link at our show notes or our Instagram account at ourheart.space. And the session dates are November 4th, November 18th, and December 2nd. The timing is 10:30 to 11:30, so an hour of coming together, learning and practicing meditation at Meghalaya Shala. You may choose to sign up for a single class or the full series.
All right, and now let's dive back into our podcast. So this second season is loosely themed around self and others. We said loosely because we are still focusing a lot on our self-work, just like in season 1, focusing on our inner work, on our self-discovery, on our growth. And that is because we need to be deeply and firmly rooted within ourselves before serving and before offering our best to the world, to others. And others could be represented in many forms. It could be nature, it could be our friends, colleagues, and family, or it could be simply the world at large.
Yeah, basically not ourselves, everything else, and how we interact with it. And sometimes when it comes to interactions with the world, it is all about the mix of attention, intention, your action, devotion, and other bunch of virtues like being open to interaction and being honest with this interaction. So we will be delving into these concepts throughout the season. Personally, I think interacting with others can sometimes be quite an easy, intuitive process, while at other times it can be confusing or tricky. So when we are navigating, especially around the new terrains for the first time, we might have this sense of guardedness or uncertainty. So we are mainly talking a lot about harnessing this trust and faith while interacting with others in this world. So we are very excited to have conversations with inspirational figures, some of whom we know personally, some we know them, but they don't know us until we reach out to them on their Instagram accounts, maybe. But also, if you wish to have someone on the podcast, drop us a note and let us know if there's anyone that is open to sharing about their version of heart-centered living. We will explore heart-centered stories from all these inspirational figures. They will share their wisdom, their tips, their tools, and they will shed light on their unique journey through this world as they discover themselves while uplifting and supporting others.
Yeah, it's very exciting because some of them are our teachers, our past teachers, maybe our future teachers as well.
I'm sure, like in many ways, even like the conversations that we would talk to them about, they are teaching us something.
Yeah, definitely. So that's a big change and big shift coming up in this new season.
Yeah.
From the 2-women show to a 3-people show.
To a three.
So yeah, feels exciting.
I think apart from excitement about this new podcast episode, so a little bit of not uncertainty, but just opening up, and
Yeah,
there's really no compass to direct. So it's just letting go the need of controlling everything, and also allowing the fun and play to enter into this three-way conversation. And I feel that there will be very interesting chemistry with another person on board, because for both of us, we kind of know each other's vibe quite well.
yeah.
And with another person whom either we are familiar with for a short period of time, or only one of us are more familiar with the person or not. I mean, there are a lot of combinations and permutations. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And you mentioned something that is very present for me, which is surrendering.
Yeah.
It's very present for me right now in this phase of my life. This is going to be very much a theme for us internally with, embarking in this new season. But all of this is always a lesson for us. And I feel a lot of what we talked about in the first season is going to be a big foundation for us to kick off. into this. You mentioned divine play. We talked about that, and we had so much fun recording that episode in the season 1.
Yeah. So that is gonna be interesting, and as well as figuring out how we're gonna add another microphone in this mix, because we're learning on the go, and everything else is just, picking up as we reach the point that we need to learn.
Basically practicing and hopefully mastering the art of letting go with this whole process, and just having fun with that, and having a lot of compassion for ourselves. Feeling good about it.
Thank you for the reminder of compassion to ourselves. At any point in time we feel like this is us being an overachiever, we need to have compassion for ourselves. Do you have any thoughts about what is your intention for this season, or how would you be bringing the energy, or I don't know, anything about this season that you have maybe set an intention for?
I think what I already mentioned. So a lot about surrendering, and surrendering both in this episode, but also in my life, in my personal life as well. So just letting go and flowing with life, and how things come up. And I hope we will be able to have this joyful, flow through the whole process with all our wonderful guests and speakers. We already have a lineup, and we are very excited about these people coming, hopefully, to record with us. So another intention is just bringing their voices over here to Heartspace podcast, and just sharing and being this channel for these voices to be heard through the perspective of heart-centered living. What about you?
My intention is quite complementary to yours, because to surrender, we need to also be really open to the outcome. So for me, it's just being really open to accepting anything and everything. So just enjoying the ride, looking at allowing myself to also be more refined in listening, like the art of listening, because when we have someone else here, I think we need to really be skillful in navigating the conversation, but at the same time also allowing it to be really open and free, so that it lands naturally. So I think it's a learning curve for both of us, but at the same time, only good things can happen.
It's great to talk about it, and it's actually very interesting to be sharing all that in episode 0 of the next season. Just letting in our listeners, letting them in to hear what's happening in the backstage, what's happening, in our minds, and what challenges we may be facing. I feel it's not very common for for other podcasts, but I feel really good about it. And just keeping it real, basically. That's
for sure.
That's the foundation of it all. Just keeping it real, and not trying to, just keeping it real.
We are really being honest here that we don't have it all in control. We don't know much about what we're doing, but we figure things out, and we have a direction for sure. And that direction, or the vision for Heartspace podcast and the Heartspace community, it's what bringing us towards all these different offerings. So thank you for sticking with us. We love you all.
We really do. Isn't that what life is about? What you just said, the sentence of more or less knowing the direction, but then kind of flowing with it. And that's a very nice, just taking this structure that we have, or lack of it, in the podcast, and just copy pasting it to our lives, allowing ourselves to flow with what comes. That's a way easier way of living than holding on to the need for control, and just needing to know how things will unravel.
Yeah. We said it many times that heart space really is for us. So in this sense, it really represents the journey that we are on. What season are we in as well? Like when we are ready for season 2, then we came back together. Okay, let's think about what do we want to offer. And in season 2, it feels like there is a subtle shift in our offerings, yet at the same time, it's still very deeply rooted in our foundation, our core values. At the same time, we're also exploring a little bit more of practices that we have been seeking benefits from and really embodying it and feeling like now is the time for us to share it with a friend.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so heart space is going through some subtle shifts. It's not only what we are sharing in the podcast, it's also, as you mentioned, all of our other offerings. What we are going to be sharing in our social media, it's gently, subtly shifting, and it's always going in line with what's going on in our lives. Which direction do you feel that this shift is taking? We've been talking about it pretty a lot because it's very present for us, but
yeah, for sure. I feel like transitioning into the autumn season, even though we can't really feel the weather and look at the nature so distinctively that it is fall, it is autumn now, but for me, I'm transitioning a lot into this space of rest or wanting to rest more, slowing down a bit more. It's no longer going out there like it's summertime, doing many things and trying to achieve it all. I think it's also how the body is telling me that I should slow down a bit more because I see myself catching colds here and there, getting aches here and there. So probably it's a sign of overworking. And it's also a time to be intentional with how do I want to support myself if I want it to be a sustainable journey. So to me, the two themes are rest and support. And support in a way could also be translated into how would I like to receive and ask support, and how would I like to support others, or even how would I like to support you as well, which both of us are always very open to supporting one another in our various seasons of life. And now this word of support to me holds even greater value. And I feel like any offerings that we give or that we show up to, we are not going to be just going there for an hour of having fun, having some embodied experience, and then we leave the participants going, feeling like they don't know what else to do. So I feel like the community needs support. And in many ways, our offerings are being directed towards creating a support system that will last. And it's not just both of us supporting one another, but in many ways, building a small but very tight community unit that could support one another.
Yeah, that's very much a beautiful summary of what we also want to transmit through the upcoming offerings. For me, it's definitely a lot about the community that you mentioned. Just creating for ourselves, but also for all of our listeners and everyone that comes to our offerings, this feeling of belonging, and this deep knowing that we are all deeply linked to one another and to our planet. And so through that, I hope we'll be cultivating this sense of oneness, of belonging, and knowing that through this connection, through that belonging, through that community, we can heal, we can, create a future together, we can grow in that setting. And what's connected with that, through the community, we are also learning about ourselves so much. And we can also, through seeing another person, see our wisdom, our divine spark just in the eyes of the other person in front of us. And it can give us an immense strength to walk the path that we are on, knowing that we are surrounded and that we are supported. And this is what I hope we will create also for ourselves, for others, through Heart Space. So it's this self-remembrance, it's embodiment, it's this divine connection and self-inquiry through connection, through belonging in a community.
Yeah. So that is our little seeds being planted again. And I feel very rooted in our vision, our core values. And I feel like even just like looking back at season 1, looking at, there are actually people who are interested in what we're talking about, it gives us some hope that this community is slowly finding its way together. And hopefully in like the physical circles, it would be even more direct, because on podcast episodes, we are just listening to the podcast by ourselves, and we don't know who are the people who are, interested in this. So we would really love to create more of gatherings, be it physical or online gatherings, to get to know all of you, to also allow other people to know you as well.
Yeah. So our intention is also to bring back one of our community gatherings that we had. That was a wonderful experience also for us as facilitators, Ocean of the Heart. And once we agree when, how, and what, we will definitely share more about that on our social media. So stay tuned. All right, that's it for today. Well, remember to join us for the Meditation for Beginners series to learn the how and why of meditation and to create your own personal practice. The session dates are November 4th, November 18th, and December 2nd, and you may choose to sign up for a single class or full series. And of course, we can't wait to embark on this heart-centered journey with you in season 2 of the Heart Space podcast.
Remember to hit that subscribe button so you are the first to know when we drop the next episode, the very first episode of season 2. And you can also stay connected with us on Instagram at ourheart.space. And if you want to dive even deeper into the heart-centered world, consider joining our mailing list. We don't send out newsletters often, but each one is really deeply, sincerely written whenever there is a news or whenever there is an inspiration to share. That way, you will be in the loop with all the exciting things happening at Heart Space, and you will find all the links in the show notes.
And don't forget to share this podcast with someone who might resonate with our mission and message. All right, see you next time. From our hearts to yours.
Thank you for listening.